They didn't invite me to Christmas, said the table was too full this year. But a week later, they sent me a $52,000 invoice for my sister's car. That's when I called the bank and said, repossess it. I'm done. Hey, my name's Julia, I started, staring at the unopened Christmas card on my kitchen counter. It was from my parents, cheerful red envelope, gold lettering, but inside, not an invitation. Just a photo of the family. Everyone smiling in front of the tree. Everyone. Except me. I should have expected it. For as long as I can remember, I've been the responsible one. The one who shows up, pays the bills, covers the emergencies. My sister Megan? She's the golden child. Younger, louder, effortlessly adored. When she forgets to pay her rent, Dad calls me. When she needs help with her car, Mom suggests I lend her the money. I thought this year might be different. I thought maybe after everything I'd done, they'd just want me there, not my wallet. Instead, Mom's voice on the phone was syrupy and cold all at once. Sweetheart, we're keeping it small this year. Just family. I almost left. Just family. That was 3 days ago, and tonight, while they're carving ham and clinking glasses, I'm microwaving lasagna and watching the snow fall outside my apartment window. Then came the knock. Not from them, from the mailman. He handed me a thick envelope stamped from my parents' address. For a split second, I thought maybe it was a last-minute card, maybe even an apology. I sat down, tore it open, and froze. Inside was a typed invoice. $52,347.89 for Megan's car. I ran it twice, my heartbeat rising with every line. Julia, since you co-signed for Megan's vehicle, the payments have defaulted to you. We'd appreciate it if you could handle the balance promptly. Family helps family. At the bottom, in my father's handwriting, was a note. You've always been the smart one. We know you'll do the right thing. I just sat there, staring at that paper until the numbers blurred. All those years I thought I was helping, turns out I was just convenient. I looked around my small apartment, the quiet peace I had built for myself after years of chaos, and felt something break. Not in anger, but in exhaustion. They didn't invite me to Christmas. They didn't want me. They wanted my signature, my solvency, my silence. That night, I poured myself a glass of wine, took a long breath, and whispered, no more. For the first time in my life, I wasn't going to be their safety net. This time, I'd save myself and let them fall. I didn't sleep that night. Every time I closed my eyes, I saw that invoice. Not a message of love, not even a question, just an expectation. They didn't ask if I could pay it. They just assumed I would. That's how it's always been. When Megan crashed Dad's truck at 19, I paid the insurance difference. When she dropped out of college, I covered her credit card debt to protect her future. Every time Mom said the same thing. You are the responsible one, Julia. You understand money. What I didn't understand was how responsibility somehow made me their servant. The next morning, I called the bank to confirm the details. The voice on the other end was polite but firm. Yes, I was the cosigner. And yes, the account was months behind. Megan had stopped paying entirely. I asked when the last payment was made. October, the woman said. She said her sister would take care of it. My throat tightened. My sister. I hung up and just sat there, the phone heavy in my hand. It wasn't even the money. It was the audacity, the absolute certainty that I'd keep cleaning up her mess. By noon, my mother texted, Honey, did you get the mail? Don't worry, we'll make it up to you next Christmas. Heart. I didn't reply. Instead, I opened my laptop and scrolled through photos from years past. Megan's birthdays, family vacations, holidays where I was half invisible, but always footing the bill. Every smile in those pictures felt like a receipt now. That evening, the phone rang again. Dad. Julia, he said, his tone all business. I hope you're handling that car issue quickly. The dealership's been calling us and your name's on that paperwork. My name's on a lot of things, but not your Christmas invite, apparently. He sighed, That deep, disappointed exhale that used to make me crumble as a kid. Don't start this. You know Megan's going through a tough time. She's your sister. Yeah, and I've been her cushion for 37 years. There is silence on the other end. Then, the final blow. You've changed, Julia. Money's made you cold. That did it. After we hung up, I stared at the wall until my reflection in the window seemed like a stranger. Cold? No. Tired. Tired of being the family bank, the backup plan, the invisible provider behind their perfect little Christmas photos. That night, I pulled out my old financial files. I'd built a solid life, a small business, savings, credit strong enough to carry an entire family. But maybe it was time to stop carrying them. As the snow fell softly outside, I opened a new document titled Freedom Clan. Step 1 was simple. Call the bank. But not to pay. To take back everything they thought they owned, starting with that $52,000 car. I smiled for the first time in days. They wanted a bill settled. They were about to get a lesson instead. The next morning, I woke up with clarity I hadn't felt in years. For once, I wasn't going to cry, explain, or reason with anyone. I was going to act. I poured my coffee, opened my laptop, and called the bank again, this time with a purpose. The same woman from yesterday answered, cheerful and unsuspecting. "Hi," I said, calm and measured. "This is Julia Ross. I'm the co-signer on a 2022 SUV under Megan Ross. I'd like to initiate repossession." There was a pause. "Repossession? Are you sure, Ms. Ross? That will—" "Yes," I said firmly. "I'm done covering someone else's luxury lifestyle." She hesitated, then said softly, "Understood." When I hung up, it felt like a weight had slid off my shoulders, years of quiet resentment dissolving in one decisive moment. For once, I wasn't rescuing anyone. Over the next few days, the messages started rolling in. First from Megan. "Hey, Jules, did you touch something with my car payments? They're saying there's an issue. Then Mom. "Sweetheart, this isn't necessary. We're family. You don't air family matters to strangers." Family matters. That phrase again, the one that always meant your pain doesn't matter as long as we're comfortable. I didn't respond. Not yet. Instead, I focused on my business. Orders were piling in for the new quarter, and my team, the one I'd built from scratch, was thriving. I spent hours at my office, surrounded by people who actually respected what I did, who saw me not as a wallet, but as a woman who had earned her place. But late one evening, my phone buzzed again, this time from an unknown number. "Ms. Ross, this is Dan from Capital Auto Finance. We've retrieved the vehicle. Standard procedure. You're cleared from the account." Cleared. That one word felt like closure. 2 days later, my sister showed up at my door. Her hair was a mess, her eyes red. "You had my car taken," she demanded, voice trembling. "How could you do that to me?" I stood there, calm and composed. "You mean the car I bought, maintained, and paid insurance on for over a year? The one you stopped paying for 3 months ago?" She blinked, speechless. "You didn't even invite me to Christmas, Megan, but you sent me a $52,000 invoice. You didn't want family, you wanted funding." Her lips quivered. "You think you're better than us now." "No," I said, stepping closer. "I just stopped believing I was less." The silence between us was sharp. For once, she didn't have a comeback. I closed the door gently, not out of spite, but peace. For the first time in my life, I'd drawn a line that couldn't be crossed. That night, I sat by the window with a cup of tea, watching the snow fall again, the same way it had that night I made my decision. Only now, it wasn't falling on an old version of me, the one who paid and waited and forgave. It was falling on someone new. Someone free. If you've made it this far and the story's got you hooked, don't forget to subscribe and stay tuned, because what happens next isn't just payback. It's peace served cold. It was 2 weeks after the car was repossessed when the call came. Dad. Not a text, not a family group chat, a full-blown you're in trouble phone call, the kind that used to make me shrink as a teenager. Julia, he began, voice cold, what you did to your sister was humiliating. The neighbors saw the tow truck. You made us look like fools. I almost laughed. Us? Dad, I said slowly, you made yourselves look like fools the moment you sent me a $52,000 invoice instead of an invitation to Christmas. He exhaled sharply, that same sound that used to make me back down. You always think you're so righteous, don't you? So perfect. You could have handled it privately. Privately? I asked. Like all the private times I paid off her debts, her tuition, her credit cards, or the private times you told me she needed it more because she wasn't as fortunate. Tell me, Dad, when was my fortune ever mine? Silence. I could almost hear the truth settling in on the other end of the line. You've changed, he said finally. I had to, I replied. You taught me that love in this family came with a price tag. I just stopped paying it. That was the end of the call. But not the end of the story. A few days later, I was at my office when my receptionist buzzed me. She said, there's a woman here asking for you. It was Mom, standing there in her wool coat, clutching her purse like it might protect her from the truth. Julia, she said softly, your father's upset. Megan's devastated. You didn't have to go this far. I gestured for her to sit. Mom, I didn't go far. I just went forward. Her eyes flickered to the framed newspaper clipping on my wall. Local entrepreneur named Businesswoman of the Year. The article showed me smiling beside my team, the logo gleaming behind us. She's done well, she said quietly. I worked for it, I corrected. She nodded slowly. Your sister's struggling. She's lost. We're worried about her. For a moment, the old guilt tugged at me, that instinct to fix, to carry. But then I looked around my office, at the photos of my kids, at the life I'd built without anyone's permission. I can't save her, Mom, I said gently. But maybe now she'll learn to save herself. Mom sighed and stood to leave. But before she did, she turned and said something that caught me off guard. She said you looked happy, she whispered. I blinked. What? When she saw the news article, Mom said, she said you looked happy. I don't think she's seen that before. And with that, she was gone. I sat there for a long time after, letting that sentence sink in. Happy. It wasn't triumph, it wasn't revenge. It was something quieter, a peace they couldn't buy, break, or borrow. For the first time, I realized I didn't need an apology from them. Their silence, their shock, their acknowledgement, that was enough. I didn't destroy my family. I just stopped being the foundation they stood on while pretending I didn't exist. And somehow, that was the most powerful thing I had ever done. 3 months later, Christmas came again. The lights twinkled in the streets, shop windows glowed with red and gold, and families filled the restaurants I used to pass by. The ones where I always imagined us sitting together, laughing, pretending we were whole. But this year, I didn't wait for an invitation that would never come. This year, I made my own table. Mom, can we use the nice plates? My son asked, dragging a box from the cupboard. The nice plates, I teased, raising an eyebrow. You mean the ones Grandma said were too fancy for us? He grinned. Yeah, those. I laughed, really laughed, and helped him set them out. My daughter placed candles in the center, and for the first time, our tiny home looked like something out of a postcard. Not perfect, not polished, just warm. The smell of cinnamon and roasted chicken filled the air. We didn't have expensive gifts or fine china, but as I watched my kids humming along to a Christmas song, I realized this was wealth. This, right here. After dinner, I tucked them into bed. My daughter whispered, Mom, this was the best Christmas ever. I smiled, brushing her hair back. You know why, sweetheart? Because everyone ate together? Exactly, I said. Everyone ate together. When they fell asleep, I sat by the window with a cup of tea and my thoughts. It still hurts sometimes. Not the loss of family, but the illusion I'd carried so long. The fantasy that if I just gave more, loved harder, or stayed quieter, they'd finally see me. But the truth was simpler and crueler. Some people don't notice you until they need you, and when you stop being useful, they call you selfish. I used to think that love meant sacrifice, but now I know real love doesn't drain you, it fills you. The next morning, a message came through from an unknown number. It was Megan. Hey, I heard the car got resold. Guess I deserved that. I just wanted to say, I didn't realize how much you'd done for me. I'm sorry. I stared at the screen for a long time. Part of me wanted to reply, to tell her I forgave her, to bridge that gap again. But the wiser part of me knew forgiveness wasn't something I needed to give her. It was something I needed to live. So, instead of answering, I just whispered it to myself. I forgive you, and I forgive me. I closed the message, opened my calendar, and smiled at what was next, a volunteer event for single mothers my company was sponsoring. I had been mentoring young women lately, teaching them about financial independence, boundaries, and how to stop apologizing for saying no. One of them, a 22-year-old named Erica, had said something that stuck with me. You talk about money like it's not power, but peace. And that was exactly it. Money had once chained me to my family. Now it set me free to live without fear. That afternoon, I drove through town. The snow was light, glittering like sugar on rooftops. When I passed my parents' neighborhood, I slowed for just a moment. I could see their house, the lights glowing, the familiar shadow of Dad moving through the living room. And for once, there was no bitterness, just distance, the kind that heals. I parked near the ocean overlook instead, the place I always went to think. I got out, the cold air stinging my cheeks, and watched the waves crash below. The horizon was wide, endless, like life itself, unowned and untamed. I thought about everything I'd lost and everything I had gained. Then I smiled, because walking away hadn't been weakness, it had been survival. And survival, when done with grace, becomes freedom. I took a deep breath, letting the sea air fill my lungs, and whispered the final truth I wished I'd known years ago. Peace isn't given. You build it, brick by boundary, tier by tier, until one day it stands on its own. As I turned back toward the car, I caught my reflection in the window. Older, wiser, softer. A woman who finally chose herself. Not rich with approval, not hungry for acceptance, just whole. And that was worth far more than $52,000. I used to think walking away meant weakness. Now I know sometimes it's the strongest thing a woman can do.